6th day Aliyah. Okay, Shalom, Shalom, and you guessed it, Shalom. This is the 6th day Aliyah of Parashah Beshalach of Shemot, or Exodus chapter 16, verses 11 through 36. Now, the things that we see in this particular chapter are no lunar Sabbath, manna from heaven, and we see some Sabbath rules. All right, so just put an S after rule. All right, put an S after rule. So remember, the next new moon is gonna be February 3rd to February 4th, sunset to sunset. It's a holy day of no major work, no pleasures. Definitely, it's a day of worship. And also remember that from the calendar, the new moon, the new year starts on April 4th at sunset. So that means the Passover is going to be on April 18th to April 19th, sunset. The sunset is the first day of Passover. Now you'll hear some dates saying starts the 19th, or starts the 20th, or the 21st, or it starts on the here's some dates saying it starts on the 24th. That's when Passover starts. Those dates are wrong. We've used ephemerides, and we've used the Jet Propulsion Laboratory data to compile the calendar by the elder of Torah and law enforcement of Masharah Yasharallah. All right, so it's a very accurate calendar. Passover begins on April 18th to April 19th, sunset to sunset. And then the last day of Passover is going to be April 24th to April 25th, sunset to sunset. Okay. So that's the information that we have for you to follow the day of the next new moon and the 2 days of Passover. All right. And if anyone needs to take care of anything else in any of the lower floors, and that's okay. Just I might need some help with the camera action here in a little while, so that people can just keep an eye out. If you're not in the room with me, I might need some help in a little while with this. But you can go do what you need to do in other parts, of the building if necessary. Shalom Mikaz, Ayatan. All right, so we're starting in Beshalach, verse 11 of Exodus chapter 16. Now, remember, we just went over that Yahweh is talking to Moses on the 15th day. They arrived and they were traveling on the 15th day, which shows us that the Sabbath is not according to the new moon. Because according to the new moon doctrine of the Sabbath day, the 15th is supposed to be a day of rest. It's supposed to be a day of worship. You're not supposed to be out traveling and trying to set up a camp on the 15th day of any month, because that's supposed to be a Sabbath day, according to the people that keep the new moon Sabbath. Shalom Trayvon. According to the people that keep the Sabbath according to the moon, they say that, this is a day when you're supposed to keep it. We see the 15th day they came into the area Elim. So when they came into Elim or Elim on the they journeyed from Elim and came into the waters of Sin. And when we read up, we got there on the 15th day. So we were traveling, walking, the animals, hauling these big, heavy loads on the 15th day. So it shows us that we weren't keeping the 15th day as a Sabbath. I don't know how much more, more information or data from the Bible we need to piece together to see that the Sabbath every 7 days, regardless of the cycle of the moon, is the proper way to observe the Sabbath as a holy day of rest. Okay, so we want to address that one directly. We can see that in the text. A lot of times when you read the Torah, you have to see what the text is saying and then compare that to what you've heard and what you kind of see other people talking about and other people trying to teach. And then you say, well, hold up, they teach this, they say that, but the Torah says something different. That's why it's so important not to begin with Ezekiel, but not to begin, with Revelation per se, when you're trying to really learn basic doctrines. But it's important to begin in the Torah because that's where we see the life and death commandments from the Bible. All right. So now a lot of times, we have the Catholic Church or we have other Israelite organizations. We have different camps and we have Protestants, and they kind of have different doctrines, but those doctrines contradict the Torah. So you have to look at the Torah and have to be aware of what the Torah, which are the first 5 books of the Bible, you have to be aware of what they're saying and what they teach, and then compare that, to everything else. All right. So now in Exodus chapter 16, verse 11 through 36. Now it says, Hashem Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, I have heard and again, I'm reading from the Stone Edition Chumash, all right, which has the Onkelos Aramaic Targum in it, and it also has the Rashi commentaries at the bottom of the page with the language on it. Okay, right over here. Okay, so even though we have an English text, the English text is pretty consistent with the Hebrew text. We see sometimes it can be translated a little better, but once we look at the Hebrew and we see what the Hebrew says, then we can fill in the blanks that they need to be filled in. All right. I have heard the complaints of the children of Yasharallah. Speak to them, saying, in the morning you will eat meat, and in the morning you shall be sated with bread, and you shall know that I am Yahweh, your Elohim. It was toward the evening that the quail ascended and covered the camp. And in the morning, there was a layer of dew around the camp. Okay. Now, the layer of dew ascended, and behold, upon the surface of the wilderness was something thin. Something thin. All right. Now, this quail is like a foreshadow to the incident with the quail and our people still being greedy. But the quail came and it's not really mentioned. All right. So the quail were like abandoned. All right. So they came and they weren't mentioned. Then the manna, which means what is this? Manna is what actually is the focus in this verse. Verse 14. The layer of dew ascended, and behold, upon the surface of the wilderness was something thin, exposed, thin as frost on the earth. The children of Yasharallah saw and said to one another, it is food, for they did not know what it was. Or really said, what is it? Mashah said to them, this is the food that Yahweh has given you for eating. This is the thing that Yahweh has commanded. Gather from it, all right? For every man according to what he eats, an omer per person, according to the number of your people, everyone according to whoever is in his tent shall you take. So showing us that we would, we dwelt in these tents according to everyone that is in. You just said kakal ashara ba ahalka. Let's see what this says. Verse 16. So what does this say? All right, so it says, Yeah, so a halawa. So that shows you that they were dwelling at this point. They were dwelling in tents. So I want to explain something also. This shows us that when the Bible says keep the feast of tabernacles, because I made the children of Israel to dwell in tabernacles, those tabernacles were not tents. The word for tent in Hebrew is ahal. That's the word we see right here. The word for Sukkot is sakwat or sakah in the singular, or sak sometimes also. That is a structure that has a cover on it and then has sides. This post like a little shelter with, doesn't have, it's not surrounded with walls, similar to what Jonah built when he was outside of Nineveh. He built a little, structure to protect him from the heat of the sun. And then, like Abraham, it tells us that our fathers built these types of structures on for their animals, and then they built houses for themselves. So this was a temporary structure, but it was sturdy, and you could sit underneath, and it would block the sun's rays from hitting your body, so it would keep you a little cooler. So that's not the word we see here. The word that we see here, when it says every man according to whoever is in his tent, that word is ahal. Okay, that word is ahal. It says la ashara ba ahalwa the kwak wa shall take. He take. All right. So I want to clarify that also. And that's why once again, when we read the Torah and we look at the English, and if we look at the Hebrew, a lot of times we can clear up a lot of misunderstandings or a lot of things that we don't really understand as well, and we don't have that practice. We don't do it the right way. So we're thinking that the Feast of Tabernacles is about you getting a tent. Well, here it says tent, we see, but a tent is different than a tabernacle, a sakwath, the tabernacles. Okay. Verse 17. The children of Yasharallah did so, and they gathered. Whoever took more and whoever took less. They measured in an omer, and whoever took more had nothing extra, and whoever took less was not lacking. Everyone according to what he eats. Everyone according to what he eats had they gathered. So they gathered in one, approximately one omer, so that everybody would have enough. And but we'll see this, what is significant about this in a minute. All right. So, well, that's a miracle in itself, that the perfect balance and the perfect weights of the food is there, showing you how Yahweh's judgment, whether you know it or not, or whether we see it or not, whether we detect it or not, his judgments are always right and his ways are always righteous. So that's what that omer can be used to signify there, a balanced scale. If you had a little bit, then your omer was filled. If you had a lot, then the extra was taken away and you were still left with an omer. So he's just, he's fair, and he's balanced in all of his ways. His judgments are true. Okay. So now it says in verse 18, Moses said to them, no man may leave over from it until morning. But they did not obey Moses, and people left over from it until morning, and it became infested with worms, and it stank. And Moses became angry with them. They gathered it morning by morning, every man according to what he eats. And when the sun grew hot, it melted. It happened on the sixth day that they gathered a double portion of food, 2 omers for each. And all the princes of the assembly came and told Moses. He said to them, this is what Yahweh had spoke. Tomorrow is a rest day to Yahweh, to Hashem. Bake what you wish to bake, and cook what you wish to cook. And whatsoever is left over, put away for yourselves as a safekeeping until the morning. They put it away until morning, as Moses had commanded. It did not stink, and there was no infestation on it. All right, so we see now that Yahweh told them, be prepared for the Shabbat. Think ahead of time and know ahead of time and have something set aside so that when the time comes, when you cannot cook this food because it's the Shabbat, you already have food prepared, food baked, and food boiled. So you can't use a solar oven on the Shabbat. You can't use a microwave on the Shabbat. You can't put it in the oven and kind of leave it on heat, you know, on the Shabbat. All right. You can't do those things. They have some foods that the Ashkenazi and some of the Sephardic also, they'll have somebody put something in like a baker's oven, and they'll let the food sit until the Shabbat, and they'll come get it on the Shabbat, during the Shabbat, you know, to eat the food. And you can't do that. You have to not let your food be upon a lit fire or any type of combustion whatsoever, any type of heating device, including dealing with the sun. You can't say I'm going to put this water in the sun with a solar oven, let it boil so I can have some farina, some oatmeal, or some grits in the morning time when the Shabbat comes in. You can't do that. You can't do it, because he's telling you whatever you need to do that deals with agitating those molecules for expansion or the absorption of the heat into the body of the object that you want to eat. So, AKA boiling and baking. You cannot deal with any type of heating of the food on the Shabbat. And yes, that includes a crock pot. No crock pot on the Sabbath either. All right. So you have to do exactly what it says. Prepare the food, you know, on the 6th day or before the Shabbat. And then when the Shabbat comes in, the food is already ready. For you, the food is already ready. Me ready already. The food is already prepared, and you can just go ahead and eat it. Okay. So now let's go into verse 25. Moses said, eat it today, for today is a Sabbath for Yahweh. Today you shall not find it in the field. So Yahweh shut down any access to any type of venture looking for food in the field on a Shabbat day, because he had already given it to them, and there was no reason to go out looking for this food. This is not a prohibition against picking fruit on the Shabbat. This is not a prohibition of taking a pecan off of a tree or 2 pecans off a tree and squeeze them on a Shabbat and peeling the little hard shell from off of it and picking it out of the pecan shell and eating it. That's not a prohibition against that. This is a prohibition against going in the field looking for the food that Yahweh had already provided for you to give you double on the Shabbat. But some people say, you know what, I want more. I want more. I don't have enough for the Shabbat, so I'm going to go and get some more, you know, being greedy of gain. All right. And if a person is greedy of gain, they will not be blessed by Yahweh. Paul said that the things that you have and the things that I don't have, the things that are good and the things that I don't like, whether I'm rich or whether I'm poor, whether I have a little bit or a lot, he says he is content, and he can do all things through Hamashiach that strengtheneth him, which means he can be high, he can be low, he can be rich, he can be poor. This is what he was talking about. All right. So now it says that on this 7th day, don't go in the field, don't look for this food. So we have to trust in Yahweh and what he has said and stick to his commandments, because our hearts, the scripture says, afterwards you used to go a-whoring, that you go down a-whoring. Our hearts went a-whoring even back then. Our hearts said, you know what? I'm gonna go a-whoring for more of this food. I don't want to just not have it on a Shabbat. So we went out in the field and we looked for it in total disobedience to what Yahweh had said. But of course, there's a justification on mine. Well, we just came from captivity, so we have to look for the food because we're used to cucumbers and we're used to all kinds of meat. So we have a different processing and we have a different metabolism now. So we have to consume a lot more food now. So let's go back out in that field and find some more. All right. Yahweh said to Moses, how long will you refuse to observe my commandments and my teachings? Okay. So Yahweh says, how long are you all going to decide that you don't want, you understand, that you don't want to do the right thing? Okay. How long are you gonna, how long are you gonna refuse, or you're gonna reject the commandments of Yahweh? So that this is the problem. Our people are rejecting the commandments and the word of Yahweh. So once they reject these commandments and the words of Yahweh, he actually says, how long will you reject my commandments? Why Tawarat Yah, and my instructions, which are his teachings. He said, why are you going to reject my instructions? Tawarat Ka, his Torah, his laws, his instructions. All right. See that Yahweh has given you the Shabbat. It's a gift from Yahweh. That is why he gives you on the sixth day a 2-day portion of bread, a double portion on the sixth day. Let every man remain in his place. Let no man leave his place on the seventh day. The people rested on the seventh day. So the people rested on the Shabbat day, and the people didn't leave. Now, this was a consequence of them going out looking. So Moses said, through the power of Yahweh, he said, you know what? Nobody go anywhere. He said, nobody move, nobody get hurt. All right, stay in your place. Don't go out on the Shabbat day, okay? So the people rested on the Shabbat day. They relaxed and they reclined. Now remember, at this point, there is no type of liturgy. There is no type of formal worship. That came later on in the time of King David. He introduced, okay, we're going to sing these songs. These are the sacrifices. Okay, these are the when I want you to do the sacrifices. This is what I want you to sacrifice. Here's the furniture. So they had no reason to all just gather together. The prime objective at this point was to rest on the Shabbat. That was the prime objective. Rest on the Sabbath day. All right, rest on the Sabbath day. So this is what he's commanding, them to do, and they rested on that day. All right, they rested on the Shabbat day. All right, so they got a double portion, and on the Shabbat day, everybody reposed in their place. Now, once we got the temple and the synagogue, once we got the temples and we got the sacrificial laws and we had the offerings that the priests had to give, the people would go to the temple to get to be a part of that process. All right, and then once we got moved away from the temple, people moved away from the temple, even in the time of the temple, between the sacrifices, people would go into the synagogues, to learn more. Okay. Now here we go. Let every man, let no man leave his place on the seventh day. The people rested on the Shabbat day. The house of Israel called it Manna. Manna. All right. It was like coriander seed. It was white, and it tasted like cake fried in honey. Maybe like a baklava, or that. That was the general taste of it. But when you go in other places in the Bible, it tells you that it could take on the taste of whatever a person wanted it to taste like. Very, very, very powerful spiritual food that Yahweh gave us. All right, so Yahweh can do anything, or Yahweh can do anything. Okay, so this thing was like almost like a soy, so to speak, where soy takes on the taste or the flavor of the things that you mixed in with it. So this coriander or this manna, manna, would taste like whatever somebody else wanted to taste like. And once again, study the scriptures is there. I'm not going to tell you where it's at, but study scriptures, it's there. All right. Verse 32. Moses said, "This is the thing that Yahweh has commanded. A full omer of it shall be a safekeeping for your generations, so that they will see the food with which I fed you in the wilderness when I took you out of Egypt." Moshe said to Aaron, "Take one jar and put a full omer of manna into it. Place it before Yahweh for a safekeeping for your generations." Now, of course, we can't see that now because the Ark of the Covenant is hidden. All right, Ark of the Covenant is hidden in Mount Horeb, Mount Nebo, where Moses got killed by Yahweh, and then Jeremiah went there also, and all the temple furniture got hidden over there. Right, that's in the book of First Maccabees. All right, take one jar and put a full omer of manna into it. Place it before Yahweh for a safekeeping for your generations, as Yahweh had commanded Moses. Aaron placed it before the ark of testimony for a safekeeping. Okay, the children of Yasharallah ate the manna for 40 years until their arrival in an inhabited land. They ate the manna until their arrival at the border of the land of Canaan. And omer is a tenth of an ephah. So I'm sure that clears it up for you, right? It's a tenth of an ephah. All right. So this is the portion of the Torah that we have. I guess I made everything, everything was pretty, straightforward. There was no major, things that we need to go into for like a 3-hour lesson on this holy day. I sincerely apologize if you're disappointed sometimes when these classes are, a lot shorter than you're used to, like the 90-minute, the 2-hour classes. But, that's what we have now. Yahweh, gave them the manna, the manna, all right? And he prohibited them of going out on the seventh day to look for more manna. He said, no, don't do that. Don't go look for more manna, all right? So he said, have your foods ready. So it's very important on the Shabbat to have your foods ready, whether it's tuna fish, whether it's sardines and crackers, okay, whether it's spaghetti, have everything all ready to go before Shabbat comes in. On the sixth day, prepare double. This is the commandment of Yahweh. What Yahweh has said that we're supposed to be doing. When we're cooking, all of our food. All right. So this is what he says. Somebody else might have a problem. Somebody else might not like it. Somebody else might say, well, whatever they say, you can. There is no counsel. There is no wisdom. There's no understanding against Yahweh. So we always have to go with what Yahweh is saying. All right. So I think that's pretty much going to be it for us for today. We see principles of balance. Okay. We definitely see balance. We see equity, the fourth pillar of wisdom. We see equity because we see a balance between obedience, disobedience. Here's the consequence. You don't want to do what I'm saying. This is going to be the punishment for you. Take an omer, and whoever got a little bit, whoever got a lot extra, doesn't matter, because I'm going to smooth everything out and make sure that everybody has their proper portion. All right. So on Shabbat day, 6th day, you gather in double, and on the 7th day, you gather in none. So it still worked out to be a portion for the 6th day and a portion for the seventh day. So that's the equity that we can see in Yahweh, which is my Yesharia, okay, equity or uprightness, all right, in dealing with Yahweh, all right. Now, of course, we also see with being sustained and being nurtured, which we see wisdom, the pillar of wisdom itself. We see here. We see the pillar of wisdom, itself. Now, remember, Yahweh is going to give to each man the measure of faith that he needs, just as he gave each man the measure of Omer. And if you lack wisdom, pray to Yahweh, and he'll give you the faith to increase your wisdom. And when he increases your wisdom, you'll understand the mysteries of Yahweh according to wisdom, according to Chakmah, a lot better. All right, a lot better. And we're going to be going into more Chakmah as it relates to us and kind of extracting the foundations of it, from the Torah, so we can all have a better understanding and grow together as Hebrew people. There's a lot of changes around the pipe, a lot of positive things around the pipe. And I want you all, to be there to participate, because remember, this is the only time that we're going to have together, unless, we want to see each other a whole lot. All right. Unless you're from the tribe of Gad, which is my tribe. And then I'll probably see you in the wilderness when we get categorized according to, our father's house and, things of that nature. All right. So these are things we have to consider. But remember, we walk in obedience to his laws, commandments, and statutes without compromise, without excuse. We do exactly what he says to do because we love him and we want to please him, and we want to serve two masters because that's impossible. We want to love him and we want to hate Hashatan, and we want to hate the devil. We want to hate that wickedness that tries to rise up toward us, against us, and sometimes from within us, to make us go outside of the orders of the master that we serve, which is Yahweh. We never want to go against his orders. We want to do exactly as he says to do. All right. So I love you all. In the name of Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. Got on here. 32-minute class. That's not bad for 26 verses. Right. So see you tomorrow or later on today on the Shabbat when the sun comes up. We'll go over all of these chapters. All right. All the way to chapter 17, which is the whole Parashah Beshalach for Shabbat. So Yabaraka come, Yahweh Bashem, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Yahweh bless you all in the name of Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. Shalom Alaikum. Shema Yasha Allah, Yahweh Allah Hayanaw, Yahweh Akkad, Yahweh Akkad. Shema, hit done on there. Yahweh Allah Hayanaw, Yahweh